Hey, babe. Hello, all, and welcome to the Affluent Marriage Podcast.
Graham Fam style.
You're listening to one financial coach and one educator talk about living a rich and full marriage through generational wealth building principles, authentic two-way communication, and everything in between to become a couple that lives in love and walks in wealth. Your legacy begins here. Thanks for scrolling up on my screen for me a little bit
just
there.
in case. I know you have it memorized, but I wasn't sure.
I appreciate that. Just to help me, know where we're going first.
Just in case. Graham
Babe.
Fam.
Yes, this is Graham Fam.
How you doing, Graham Fam?
Good to see you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, checking in. Today we've got quite the episode for you today.
We do. And I really want to just say thank you guys so much for subscribing, being a part of our extended family, for listening to our exclusive content. And if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to message us. We've had some really fun requests for links to books that we've read, and a couple of questions, which I'm going to ask you now. I didn't tell you this beforehand, but I did have another question from one of our Graham Fam members who asked us, how did you come up with the numbers to in different budget items? So for when we were doing things like groceries, going out to eat, some of those variable budget items, how did we come up with a monthly budget for that?
Right. There's a couple answers to this. Okay. So if you're looking back at where we first started, when we first started doing our budget, we basically took a percentage.
True.
That was when we first started doing our budget. We said, you know what? According to this document that we found online, it says about X percent should go towards your groceries every month. And we did our calculations. We said, okay, right now we're making about $3,600 a month because we got a $900 check from our private school. So you get two of those a month, that's $1,800. So about $3,600 between the two of us. That's what we used to live on. Man. And we said, you know what? This percentage is how much should go towards groceries every month. And that's how we did it initially. Yeah. Now that we've been budgeting for so long and we've been doing this for so long, we just kind of got a feel. Oh, because we did the budgeting apps, right? Remember we had the Mint?
Yep.
So we were like, you know what? It seems like every single month we spend around X amount of dollars on groceries and X amount of dollars on eating out.
Yeah.
So why don't we just go ahead and every month, then we started doing cash, right? Because we've done it all. Why don't we just pull out $400 from the bank every 2 weeks? Because that's about our average. So we spend about $80 a month on fast food. So that's $20 every Friday. And
when you think about it that way,
it is what it is.
It's so sad. Not sad. It's just inexpensive.
We do not eat out.
$80 a month on going out to eat.
It's more like $100 because unless you're going to Chipotle and it's like $19.70.
We have this down to a science, and this is not like a penny pincher type thing. We just know our area and where we are, and we're like,
area. We know what we
know
like.
what we order, and so we're like, what are we feeling? Very rarely is it pizza. It's normally Chipotle. We have Sarku Japan, which is Asian. We have Chinese food. We have
you just got some Thai. There's Indian.
I tried Thai food. There's Indian food. So we know what we order.
Don't forget about the Lord's Chicken.
Oh yeah, Chick-fil-A. That doesn't happen very often. That only happens when we go on vacations because that's just I don't know. I don't like fast food.
There's Five Guys.
Right. I don't like fast food as I don't like fast food coming home. I don't like it, right? So if I'm going to get Chick-fil-A and then bringing it home, it's just not as good as.
And we definitely don't buy
fresh.
our kids food like that.
No, we don't. So
they don't get treated like that on Friday nights.
No, so we don't sit down to dinner with them. If we do, it's only because we're on a road trip and we're going to Chick-fil-A. But it's very evident every time we take them out that they're, not really a good investment.
So I feel like
going back to that,
a more accurate number is $25 on a Friday, right? So it really is like $100 that we take out every month for fast food. It's $25 every Friday night, and that's what we do. The rest of that money is grocery money.
Yeah.
So we'd say it's like $360, maybe $350 every 2 weeks we use on groceries. So how do we get that number? By consistency by doing this for so long and tracking,
Yeah.
we found that, you know what, babe, it seems like this month we spent, when we were doing the Mint, right?
Yeah.
We were tracking on the Mint. We'd be like, oh, this month we spent about, $370 in 2 weeks. And this month we spent about $320. This month we spent $420.
Why did that happen?
Oh, I guess we bought paper towels and toilet paper
Right.
and laundry
Yep.
detergent, like those big items that really eat up your grocery budget. But after doing it consistency for so long and tracking for so long, we kind of found our average.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, on average, we spend about $400 every 2 weeks on eating out and groceries. So for the month, with our two girls, it's $800 every month.
So what I would say for that person is, instead of looking at it as this is how much I have to live on, and and I'm going to use this word very like quote unquote fail, if I don't make it and I spend too much, what is too much? It's up to you. But if you feel like you spent too much and you get to the end of the month, you might go, oh, I failed, forget it, I'm done, and you throw it away. Instead of that, look at the data as data and just be like, okay, how much over did I spend? I spent $65 over. Why? Why did that happen? Do I need $65 more dollars? Where can I find $65 more dollars that I can put into this budget? Because apparently I need that because we keep going over. It really is, when you look at it as just data instead of an emotional reaction to who you are as a person, like they're just numbers, so
Because the truth is every month is different.
Every
right?
month is different.
You're going to
right?
find that in November,
Yep.
you may spend more because of Thanksgiving,
Yep.
or you may spend less because you're going somewhere for Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
Those holiday months, depending on if you're hosting or if you're going somewhere, you
Will
may spend more
change.
or less.
Yes.
So you'll find the data points month to month, your grocery budget is going to look different.
I don't know. I kind of feel like, and this might be unsexy to some people, but it might take you a good 6 to 12 months before you come up with a good average, because you have to have all of that data to understand the ebbs and flows of your life. Oh, the summers are actually more. We actually do, or maybe they're less because we're eating outside a lot. And we're able to do cookouts, and I'm able to use the bill. So, the grills. So I'm not using as much in electricity or whatever because we're outside more, and we're doing a lot more potlucks. This summer, we don't spend as much in groceries. So I can actually make my grocery bill lower, which means I can save more money in the summer months as opposed to the winter months when we're home all the time. I don't know. Like, you have to track and look at that data as... it's literally a story of your life. Like,
what you just said sounds sexy to me, but if that's not sexy to you, then we are not your podcast.
We're not your podcast. We're all about really understanding how do you work? Like, that's really what it is.
Find your averages and stick to them. Don't go above average.
Don't go above
your
average.
Spending.
Nope.
That's called overspending. So
I think that answers the question for that listener.
That's great for this episode because we are talking about budgeting pitfalls.
Yes. So perfect. Start with the percentages. So there is a national average of percentage. If you look on Google, you can find these things like, what are the national averages that I should spend in my budget? And it'll give you a good percentage of what it is. I used to have a document that I would send to people that they could, do it, but you can find it really easily on Google. And then what you do is you just put in what you normally bring in, your average of what you normally bring in, and then be able to say, okay, this is how much it should go in every single category, and start there. You've built your categories there, and then you will quickly realize whether you're over or under on some of those categories and how you can start reallocating some of those funds so that you can build your ideal budget based on that. So there's the answer to your question. Remember, and if you have any questions, please make sure you follow us on the Affluent Marriage Pod on Instagram, and you can DM us. You can, comment on anything that you see and ask us questions. We'll definitely make sure we answer them in an upcoming episode. Something else that we'll go ahead and mention before we dive into today's episode is Daniel and I have been talking a lot about how we can give more of a value add to our members and also to people in our community. And so we decided we're going to do a masterclass series. And in this masterclass series, it's going to be Daniel and I talking. We're doing a virtual date night with couples, talking about, or even if you are single, I do think this might be super helpful. If you are single and you're like, I'm looking for a person who is financially sound, this gives you a really good checklist of what to look for. So, So what we're doing is we're inviting you on a virtual date night, and we're literally talking about the different steps to becoming a couple that lives in love and walks in wealth. Like that's really what we want you to be able to do through these series. It's going to be a prolonged series, so it's several different master classes over the course of a year, but they're like every other month or every 2 months, and we give you some really good poignant action steps to take to actually start creating the relationship, the communication between you and your spouse. It's time to take your
relationship and your marriage to the next level.
Yes, that's
it's time to level up so that you can start building generational wealth, be on the same team, be equally yoked. That's what we're bringing you.
Yes.
So if you're ready to level up,
this is for you. So
it's time to join up.
There's more info coming soon, but if you're already in Graham Fam, we'd love to give you a nice little boost of just one, knowing beforehand before it goes out there. But two, we're going to give you a nice little discount. So make sure that you check on that. We also have an email list coming out. So lots of things happening this summer in Graham Fam. So if you're listening to this even after the fact, you can still join in. Just let us know. And yeah. So we're excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I was trying to find a percentage for our listeners. It says that the U.S. national average is $438 per month on groceries, which just seems astronomically low.
Yeah, I would say
because
so.
we're double that. Maybe we have to change things. No, we plan a tight budget on our groceries. Like we spend it just right. This one says $968 per month, which
for
seems
a family
little
of
bit
4
more fair.
Yeah, but regardless, you'll be able to find like a list where it's like this is the percentages of how things should be fleshed out, and you can put in the percentages based on what you bring in to find out what should make sense for you. And again, this is not the end all be all for you. This is a guidepost. So you start there and then you start tweaking percentages to make it make sense for you.
Right. And you know what? I could care less what Google says about what the national average is. I'm not here to talk to you about being average. I'm here to talk to you about being affluent. You need to find out what your average is. And if your average is spending $1,200 a month on
if that makes sense for your lifestyle,
food, and that's the way you want your life to look,
go for it.
Then make that work.
Yep.
If that's what you want, make it work.
You will make it work for the things that you truly care about. Something's got to give, right?
I'm not going to sit here and tell you $1,200 is too much to spend on food. I'm not going to say that to you.
Nope.
But if you are in the negative every month and we're looking at categories and saying, you know what, where's there overspending? Where is there a place where we could make adjustments? Maybe it's not with the food. Maybe that's something you prioritize and you care about. Well, you got to shift something. But if that's your affluent lifestyle, that's the way you want to live, then by all means, go for it.
Go for it.
I'm here for it. Eat your steak dinners.
Eat it. Have a good time.
Eat that salmon.
Yep.
Stuffed salmon with crab.
It is your life. So make sure that you enjoy how you're spending your money. If you're not enjoying it, change it. Simple as that.
So we have a little announcement here. Every time I say that, people are going to think that you're pregnant, and that's not the case.
Nope.
Kimberly.
Sorry.
Babe.
Did I say that too?
No.
Okay. I was like...
I'm just excited. Graham Fam, my wife found buried treasure this week.
I sure did. I already forgot about it. I sure
know,
did.
But it's not a small... it's a big deal.
No, dude. Can I just say, this is a PSA to all of you.
If you find over $8,000,
listen,
that's a big deal.
PSA to all of you. Let's just talk to you about the story, okay? In the past 6 months, I have found $30,000. 30,000. I am not kidding. In retirement dollars. Here's what happened. So last year, I got a piece of mail from my retirement agency or the pension from the state of Maryland.
For teaching. Because here's what happened, right? You kept extending your teaching because you kept filing for child rearing.
Yep.
And then it was last year that you finally were like, babe, I'm doing it.
Yep.
I'm cutting the cord. I'm no longer going to consider myself child rearing. I'm just going to say I'm no longer in the teaching force.
Yes, which
and
was
you had been
really
child
big,
rearing for probably 4 or 5 years.
So something good to know is that when you go on child rearing leave, you can go on child rearing for 3 years. So you can go for 3 years, and then you can decide if you want to continue to work for the county, to which you'd get a like or a similar job to what you had before, or you're out of the workforce.
Or you
you
could have
don't
another
get paid. You don't do whatever. So if you have another
That's
kid
a
within that
loophole.
time, you get another 3 years of child rearing leave. Again, you don't get paid. It just holds your spot. So for me, that was my safety net and figuring out my business, that if I was figuring this out and it was working or it was not working, I always could go back to work. So that was kind of like my safety net. So this past year or whatever, I was like, this is it. I'm done. I'm cutting the cord. This is it. So anyway, I got this note from pension and they said, hey, you have $22,000. And I was like, you're joking. I thought it was a scam. I called the actual place, went to Google and looked it up, and sure enough, that's what was there. So I was like, okay, well, how do I get this rolled over? Because it can't sit there. So we are in the process of getting that rolled over to a new like Roth, a traditional Roth that's going to be building there. And so then I was like, okay, great. Then,
well, they did give you a choice. They're like, do you want cash? Like 10
dude, I
cash,
almost did it
$10,000
too.
in cash?
I almost did it. Do you know?
Or do you want 22 invested?
I'm going to ask the listeners and have them think, how much out of $22,000 do you think I'd be able to take home? I'll tell you.
I feel like I kind of answered it already, but go ahead.
How much was it? What did you say?
Like 10K.
Yeah. It was like $10,000 is what I would be able to keep. Everything else had to go to taxes and like penalties.
That
and
would
I was
be
like,
the penalty for
I was like,
pulling that 22K.
Heck no. I could make 10K. No. I'll make an additional 10K somewhere else. No, thank you. So I decided to keep it and just roll it over to a traditional IRA. So anyway, so it's in the process of being rolled over. So I was starting to be more diligent about giving to my Roth, my personal one. I've been giving to Daniel's very diligently. That's not a big deal. We know we're doing that.
We're maxing it out every month.
But mine, I've been like doing it very sporadically. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it seriously. And I don't know, like I was trying to give money to it and the Roth would not let me. I was calling them trying to be like, why can't I give money to it? It's not allowing me. It's not allowing me to use my bank card or whatever, my bank account as a way to move money. And they were like, well, this isn't your account. And I was like, excuse me. They're like, yeah, this is Daniel's account. And I was like, what? I was very confused because I thought.
Because I have two.
Because you have two and I was very confused.
I have the traditional Roth and I have the Roth IRA.
I was very confused as to why we were giving to these two places. I thought one of them were mine. That is absolutely entirely false. We were just kind of going on autopilot. Turns out my Roth IRA or my traditional Roth was nowhere to be found. This is from a traditional Roth that we created when we first started teaching, like eons and eons ago.
You spent 3 years in a private school.
My dad made me give to my investments. Thank you, Dad. And he was like, you're going to give to this. And I was like, I had no idea what it was. But anyway, we only had like $5,000 that needed to be moved over when we decided to start investing. So I know that we rolled it over and I thought it was in this account, but it was not. The only thing that was under my account was our daughter's 529. So I was so confused. It took so much calling and sleuthing and
over
looking
a week
at paperwork and calling people and calling more people to find this account that finally we found this past week. And that $5,000 that I put in matured to $8,500 in however many years that it's been sitting there.
It's incredible.
And I have not contributed a dime to it. So I have a whole whopping additional $8,000 that's just chilling there. That's been chilling there for the past however many years that finally, eventually I will roll it over to meet up with the other traditional Roth that I have. So I have $30,000.
30K. So with like on average a 7% return on that. What did you see after like 30 years with on average like a 7% return? It could always get more than that.
Yeah. So a 7% return at $30,000. If you're contributing an additional, just maxing out your Roth IRA from that, you have another $1 million in 30 years.
So that's
it. We've just created another $1 million just like that.
I thought it was if you don't give another dime, that 30K is going to.
I think it would be like 300 or 400,000. I would still contribute to something else, but still, yeah, like just not doing anything extra, just contributing the max amount would still give us another cool $1 million. So multi-million dollar.
There you go.
Million.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah, no, that's good wisdom because I have definitely been talking to colleagues who are stepping away from teaching. And I'm like, hey, you're going to have a pension coming your way.
Pay attention.
Don't be seduced into taking the cash because you're going to pay a lot in penalties and taxes. Like just roll it over into a retirement. So if you don't have a retirement, set up, it's a good time to set one up so you have something to roll it into.
Exactly. It's so good. So I say this as a PSA to everybody. Check your old employer accounts that you've had from previous. I think I made that very clear. Call them, call your HR. What is our retirement policy? What is our retirement, whatever. Do I have anything on file? Call them and see if you have something. I just had a client that just booked or just, onboarded with me, found $1,000 in another account that's just been sitting there and got matured. She was only there for like a year or so, so it is worth it to go check it out, because then you can roll over those funds so that you have control over them, can contribute additionally to them, or just can see them mature, instead of being confused and not know where your money is going when you approach retirement.
Right. Right now I'm reading Retire on Real Estate by Kai Anderson, and it's really opening my eyes to a lot of things with your retirement. I'm not going to go deep on this right now. I'm going to put some things on Instagram, but my PSA right now is, as I'm reading, is just be mindful of the fees that you pay.
Oh yeah.
With your account every single month, because if you're paying more than 1%, and even 1% is not great, you should really be looking for a retirement account that has like 0.5% in fees. If it's 1%, it's like tolerable if you really like your advisor, I guess, question mark. But if you're paying more than 1%, if you're paying 2, 3, like you're literally being robbed of your retirement. You're putting on all the risk by investing your money and hoping that it grows. You take on all the risk. If they're getting 2, 3% of that, there's no risk on their part. They're just getting free money from you.
Yeah, it's
crazy. Check your retirement accounts. Make sure that you are invested with a brokerage that's not eating your retirement with its fees.
And get understanding of how to manage those funds, because you can do it yourself. I think that's something that's been told. Society has been telling us that we have to have somebody else do it for us to be ready for retirement, but you can do it yourself. You just have to be aware. And nowadays there's so much out there. Like I can name these different people that I would say, listen to them, that will tell you exactly where to put your funds. Some of them are even financial advisors, but they just want to be able to support and help you because they know that you have the power to do it yourself. So just be willing to listen and have the best option for you.
Right. So check us out on Instagram at the Affluent Marriage Pod. We're going to be talking all about the age 70 and a half and why that's critical. And we're going to talk about these account fees and how to search your account and how to use some websites that I have for you that you guys can use to check and see what your fees are on your accounts. And if you can't figure out what the fee is on your account because it's that well hidden, then that's a good sign. You need to get out and you need to run away from that retirement account.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because if they're being that secretive,
it's probably not good.
Probably not the best.
Good. So anyway, so those are some updates.
What a fun
from
story.
Graham Fam and some PSAs for you.
30K.
Some Q&As.
This year.
Yes. It's been absolutely, honestly, I think my word for this year has been simplify. I want it to be so simple to invest, so simple to save, simple to grow. I just want it to be simple. I want my business to be simple. So that's just, getting closer and closer to that simplification.
So I'm going to start us off with a quote before we jump into budgeting pitfalls, because it's going to be a common theme, a reoccurring theme throughout the episode. Mm-hmm. Where attention goes, energy flows and results show. Where your attention goes, your energy flows and the results show. It's all about your attention. What are you putting your attention to? Mm-hmm. That's where your energy is going to go, and that's where you're going to see results.
It's a good one.
It is. We're talking about budgeting pitfalls today, which you could rephrase and call it excuses.
Yeah, I think that's the layman's terms for it. Excuses. The pretty version of it is budgeting pitfalls.
That's the sexy version.
That's the sexy version.
But the in your face, let's keep it real. These are
excuses.
Tired excuses.
Yeah.
For why your budget is not working. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with your budget? So think about where your attention is while you're budgeting. Where's your energy going? Where's it being directed? And maybe or maybe not, that's why you are or are not seeing results with your budget.
Yep.
Budgeting is a powerful tool. We know that, for managing your finances, for achieving your financial goals. But there's a lot of pitfalls that people often fall into when it comes to budgeting. So we're going to go through some of those today. The first one is unrealistic expectations. One of the common pitfalls that people face is setting unrealistic expectations for their budget. You got to be honest with yourself about your income, about your expenses, about your goals. Setting overly ambitious targets can lead to frustration and may cause you to abandon your goals, your budget, before you even get started.
Mm-hmm. This is what I hear a lot of people fall into. They have unrealistic expectations of what they want to achieve with their finances, and but they're unwilling to look at the data. If we're just looking at it as data, they're unwilling to look at the data and use that data to make shifts. They don't want to do that because it feels uncomfortable, and they put too much emotion into it. And as soon as you put too much emotion into it, that's when you start to psych yourself out of it. Like immediately, you start to psych yourself out of the progress that you could make as soon as you start saying, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. Oh my gosh, how much did I spend here? Oh my gosh, I'm a horrible person. Like as soon as you start creating this to mean something about you and mean something about your emotions that you can't change or whatever, that's the moment that you're going to lose momentum. You got to just look at it like from a bigger picture. This is where I'm at. It's like a point on a graph. Okay. How am I going to get to this point in the graph? What am I going to do? Right? Because it's all up to me. The only person who's using this cash flow is me. So how am I going to get from here to here? What are the decisions I'm willing to make? And if you make too ambitious of a goal, you're going to burn out super fast.
This is a little hard for me to speak on because a lot of people would hear about some of the goals that we set early in our marriage and would say, oh, honey, you're just 23, 24. That's a crazy, unrealistic goal.
That's true.
You're never going to accomplish that, and you're going to get frustrated. Our goal early in our marriage was to pay off my student loans. I had $76,000 worth of those student loans, and we didn't really, I will say this, we didn't have an ambitious goal in the sense that like, man, we wanted to pay this off in an absurd amount of time. It didn't start off that way. It built up to that. But initially, I remember talking to you and saying, you know, I think if we pay aggressively towards it, I think we can pay this off in like 10 years, babe.
Yeah, we had a decade.
That
was
like
our
10.
plan.
And then maybe a couple more months into budgeting, I was like, you know, but with our, you know, pay raises with this private school, and if we do a couple side jobs, whatever, I think we can knock it down to like 6 years, babe. And it wasn't until maybe a year into paying off our student loans that we saw the number go down. And I said, you know, if we really grind and hustle and work a ton of side jobs, we could probably knock this out in 18 months. And that really lit a fire in us. And we were able to knock that out.
We did something pretty unrealistic. Do you remember? Like we did more than just do a side hustle here and there, have extra jobs and all that stuff. Like
we lived in a 500 square foot
we changed
apartment.
Our living space because it was just us. We changed our living space.
We said no to your family a lot with vacations.
We said no to my family a lot. We said no to vacations. We said no to opportunities that came up. We said, nope, sorry, can't do it. People were like, dude, seriously. We said no to going out to eat a lot. We also said no to like my clothing budget. I said no. And I was like, nope, not going to do it. And I think one of the reasons that happened is because if we were 20, 22, 23 when we got married, so 22, but anyway, 24 years old. If you had told me 10 years, that would have meant that oh my God, that's crazy. That would have meant that by now
we'd pay off our student loans. That's what we just accomplished this year. I hate that.
Guys, that just hit me. I don't think I recognized that until just now. Oh my gosh.
So
do you think we wouldn't have stuck it out?
No,
we would not have stuck it out. We would have burnt out.
Sure. I bring that up because
that's crazy.
A pitfall for a lot of people is unrealistic expectations. If your expectations are, I'm going to pay off all these student loans, I'm going to just throw everything I have in it, I'm going to pay these off, you know, in 6 months or in 12 months. That's not going to happen.
No.
And you're going to be so frustrated that you're going to have a moment where you say, well, if I can't, because I talk to people all the time with student loans. I work in education, like all these teachers have student loans and they don't make a lot of money. So a lot of them just have this point of view that, you know what, like
it's gonna be here.
It is what it is. It's going to be here. these things have been on hold since the pandemic. Biden said he's going to pay off 10K, but then that got shut down. So I don't think this 10K is happening. But everyone kind of just has this moment where they're like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I can't pay this off quickly. So I'm just going to let it be. Like, it's just going to live in the corner of my closet. I hate that. But that's because they probably have unrealistic expectations that this is going to be something that happens very quickly. It's not. For us, it started out as 10 years, and then we got a little more intense, and it was 6 years. And then after a year in, we realized, hey,
I don't want to live like this forever.
This sucks, but we can do this. You can do anything for 18 months.
You can do anything for 18 months.
If we grind, we can get this done. But you have to have a realistic expectation. 18 months was realistic for us.
Yes. I was like, okay, I could live this way for 18 months. You could do anything for 18 months. And I think for me, getting on board with that was the hardest part, because he can live on bare minimum. It didn't take much for him to be happy. For me, I really had different luxuries that I wanted to have. And so that was difficult for me to be like, okay, but I think I saw the bigger picture, because I did not want to live the life that we were living for a long time. To live that way for 10 years, I was like, I'm never getting out of this house. To me, I got so stuck. We're never getting out of this house. I'm never going to have a family. I'm never going to be able to do fun things. It just felt so restrictive. Ooh, I can say that now, because it's not restrictive anymore, right? Because now when I have more money available to me and have more funds available to us, it's so much easier to live in, I can do whatever I want to do now. Like, it was worth that 28 months of focus so that I could have the rest of my life to just be like, what do you want to do, babe? We didn't even talk about this. Sorry, this is totally going back to our announcements. We didn't even talk about what we did last week.
We bought a van?
We did that too.
We talked about that.
No, we did in the other one. Did we talk about that? We went out for a weekend and went to that really nice restaurant. Did we talk about that?
I'm not sure if we brought that up. We might have brought that up.
Might have. I'm just saying, unrealistic expectations. Going back to this, right? Unrealistic expectations. We stayed there because a lot of people told us to stay there. So think about the people who are around you when you tell them your dreams and your goals. They told us we couldn't get there. We said, we think that we should, even our own parents. We would say, yeah, we think we want to just pay off our student loans debt. And they were like, honey,
that's not how the world works.
That's not how it works. You might just have to be okay. This is what everyone else has to deal with.
You're going to get a mortgage. You're going to get a car note. You're going to have student loans. Debt is just
don't let the debt get
part of life.
It's not a big deal. It's just a part of life. And we were just kind of like, okay. But then part of us were like, no, I don't really like living this way. No, thank you.
So we dared to be different.
So we dared to be like, let's just see what we can do together. So I don't know. But I say that because now, we just spent $350. We dropped $350 on a really nice restaurant. It was nothing. And I really love that we've gone from that same couple who pushed and drived and said, whatever we got to do to get out of this in 28 months is the same couple who's like, you want to go out?
Well, because we don't have a $900 student loan payment every month,
we can that.
Go out to a $350 dinner if we'd like.
Don't worry, that might come out of our budget.
The average American has over $96,000
in debt?
Worth of debt. Over $96,000 worth of debt. It can be crippling. Depressing. Like I just explained with teachers, if you say, I don't think I'm ever going to make it out of this. I've dug myself too deep in credit card debt, in auto loan debt, in whatever debt. I've dug too deep. I'm in it. I pay off my bills. I pay a little bit towards my credit card, and I have a little bit left over at the end of the month, and that's my life. Mm-hmm. And I think people just give up. Yep,
they give up. So you need to, anyway, because we have to continue moving forward with some of these unrealistic...
with some of these budgeting pitfalls?
Yeah, but when it comes to unrealistic expectations, recognize that the numbers are just numbers. Recognize that you have control over what happens next. And don't give yourself a target that is so out.
It needs to be attainable.
It needs to be attainable. Something that is a no-brainer for you. I tell people, just literally budget for the next 2 days if that's what it takes for you to be able to say, I did it. I did the next 2 days. I did the thing. create attainable goals for your personal life, and that will help you in the long run.
Another excuse that people have when it comes to budgeting, or a budgeting pitfall, is failure to track expenses.
Yeah.
Where your attention goes, energy flows, and results show. If your attention is on this budget, if you are serious about it, you're putting your energy into it, you are going to track. It's one of those things where you're not truly budgeting. Don't tell me you're on a budget. Don't tell me you're budgeting if you're not tracking.
Yeah.
Because literally budgeting, 90% of it is tracking and evaluating, right? You're tracking your numbers. You're saying, I spent $100 so far this week on groceries. I'm evaluating and saying, I have one more week until I get my next paycheck and I can get another $100, $200 out of the bank for groceries. You're evaluating, you're tracking, you say, okay, so this next week I can spend up to this amount before my account gets replenished.
Not only that, you're evaluating the things around you. What do I have going on socially? What do I have in my fridge? What do I have in my pantry?
Right. My friends are going to ask me out for drinks this weekend.
What's my
plan? I gotta
plan?
have cash for that.
What's my game plan? Like, these are all things that you're going to have to think through so that you can consistently be in control. I was literally just talking to a client who just came back from vacation, and every one of my clients who are just starting out on this money management mindset journey comes back, and they're from their vacations, and they might have left and been like, Kim, I'm going on vacation, but they come back and they're like in a frenzy because they're like, I don't know where everything is and I feel overwhelmed, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and I'm like, calm it down. You have control. Did you, before you left on this vacation, did you do the job of tracking what expenses were due, not just when the week that you're gone, but when you come back, so then you can know while you're on this vacation, when you come back, that there is no need for you to freak out. You have a place to kind of like ground yourself and go, all systems are go. We're good. If you're not tracking your expenses, you are leading yourself to overspending, to bad habits, to things creeping in that seemingly were small that turns into really big issues later because you're not staying on top of it.
That's why I love our cash envelope system for groceries that we do, because
that's why we did it.
When we go away for vacation for a week, we generally clean out the fridge. We throw away all the perishables, things that are going to rot and stink, just get all that out of the house. And when we come back, either two things are going to happen. Either we're still going to have some cash left over in that envelope for groceries that we can use to replenish groceries when we come back home, or it's the start of a new pay period, new pay cycle. We got 2 weeks, so we go to the bank and withdraw our next $400 for the next 2 weeks. So we never have that concern about, oh man, I have to go buy groceries. I just got back from a trip, because we have that cash envelope system.
And just to give you a perspective of, like, for example, if where you are right now is, I'm just starting out my understanding of finances, I'm just starting out understanding of where my money is going, I would love to know what it looks like on the other side. Like, why am I putting in this work? So this is why we're here, to tell you the before and then tell you the after. This is what it looks like afterwards, right? So tracking expenses, we've talked about this before, that we track ours. We have a very good system that makes sense for us. We have worked really hard to understand, and you guys have learned that we have gone through several iterations before we found a situation or found a system that works great for us. This might not be the last one. We might have another one, especially as we start renting more properties. We're going to find other systems that work well for us. But the point is, we're consistently looking at it to figure out what we need to shift, change, move. And when it comes to our monthly expenses, we're normally a month ahead. Like, we could get to, well, we have the emergency fund and stuff, so we're several months ahead. So that's never really something we have to worry about. But when we're coming home from vacations, most of the time, everything's on auto pay. So it's already taken care of, or everything is on, everything's been paid for before we even go on vacation. And we have a vacation fund normally that we will have that's fully funded, so that when we go on vacation, we're not thinking about our actual bills account. Our vacation fund is what we're using for gas, for going out to eat, for any of the excursions we want to go to when we're on vacation. So these are some of the things that we think about. That's where you get to. So you're not really thinking too heavily about, where is my money when you come back.
A budget is only effective if you accurately track your expenses. Many people underestimate or forget to record those small purchases,
Yeah.
which can add up over time. You can go online and grab any budget sheet you want. It's going to have preset categories for you: mortgage, groceries, utilities, car, student loans, vacation, entertainment, whatever it is, right? And people fill in their numbers for those preset categories. And then they forget about the little things. Oh, I went to CVS and bought $2 here, and I went to Target and spent $4 there. And they don't track the little things. And over time, that stuff adds up to a really big number. Failing to track the expenses can result in inaccurate budget, make it difficult to identify areas where you can cut back and save. You don't know where your spending is going, where you can cut back and save if you don't track the little things.
If you're stopping your understanding of your finances and what you need from month to month, if you're only stopping it at these are the bills that I have to pay every single month and this is how much I get paid, you're not doing it right.
That's not budgeting.
That's not budgeting. Because the rest of it, if you're still not saving, not investing, feeling overwhelmed with where your money is going, because what a lot of people do is they will, and goodness gracious, I see this over and over again. I'll meet with people who are like, yeah, I'm good. I understand my budget. And they really only just know like their mortgage or, their utilities and their Netflix, their subscriptions, and that's pretty much it. And they may know all their subscriptions. Many times they don't know all of them. They just know the main ones. And then what they'll do is they use the credit card for everything else. That is so dangerous because you don't really know how much you have extra. So most of the time, even though they're paying it off every single month, they're not really paying it off every single month because they are losing opportunity to save, to invest, and they're not putting it at the top of their priority. So it always falls behind and they're always playing catch up on the credit card. It's a dangerous equation. So yeah, you've got to track every single expense.
Absolutely. So another budgeting pitfall is neglecting irregular or unexpected expenses, right? While it's essential to plan for regular, and we spoke about this a little bit, monthly expenses, it's equally important to account for those irregular and unexpected expenses that happen all the time. Gifts, car repairs, medical bills, home maintenance costs. These are all irregular and unexpected expenses, but failing to allocate funds for these expenses can disrupt your budget and leave you unprepared. We talked about this a little bit even with groceries, right? We don't always account for toilet paper and paper towels and the detergents. We just plan for the food that we purchase for our weekly meal plans.
I will say that in our monthly budget, we normally give ourselves a $500 miscellaneous buffer. It's just always in there. It's just always in there. It's about $250 to $500 that if we spend, that just doesn't really have a category. It's all good. We still write it down, but it's understood and we can still save, invest, all that stuff. So it's an additional amount. That's normally where...
But that's planned for.
Right. It's planned for the unplanned. And so that's what I was trying to get to is you start to understand that there's going to be these unprepared costs. And that's the thing, again, that normally the excuse that tells people, oh, I'm done. I can't do this. You can't. This is just a part of the process, right? Because what's the alternative? But what's the alternative? What are you going to do?
Right. People just decide I'd rather not know. I'd rather be in the dark. It's easier when I don't know the numbers because then I don't stress about it. What?
It's easier if I just don't go to the doctor because if the doctor doesn't tell me that I have an issue, then I don't really have an issue and I can just be blind to it and live in bliss and no one can tell me otherwise. Yeah, that's called denial, my friend. That's called straight up denial. So we are not going to live in denial, right? You're here because you're trying to, you're saying, yes, I definitely have been creating excuses. You have to know it's there, right? Again, oops, there's an issue that happened here. This medical bill came up that probably was more than I thought it was going to be. I got to pay for it. I got to take care of it. Now I have to replenish my plan. I have to rehash out my plan, my money plan. How is this changing what next month is going to look like? I mean, I have to reconfigure. That's a part of the process. If you're not willing to re-strategize like that's just a part of the process.
Things can and will and do go wrong.
And the thing is, they were already happening before. These things were already happening before. It's just now that you're aware, it's heavier on you. I feel that. I understand. But get off of it. Stop getting emotional. Recognize this was already happening beforehand. I'm just realizing it in real time. And I'm super frustrated at myself. Totally fine. Now I have to reconfigure. This, every single time I reconfigure, I get stronger.
No one's immune to this. We talked about this in previous episodes about our 2023, and we talked about all the things that we dealt with from month to month. We had big plans to purchase a minivan last year.
Yep,
it fell through. It didn't happen because these unexpected expenses took priority, took precedence, and that's what we had to put our money towards. That's what we had to put our energy towards. That's where our attention went. That's where our results went. We paid those unexpected costs. But you have to plan for it, whether it's your emergency fund, because it truly is an emergency and you have to take care of it right then and there. You can pull your funds from your emergency fund. That's what it's there for. That's planned. What happened might not have been planned, but your emergency fund was planned, and that's why it's there to protect you from those unexpected events. Or maybe it's something you just allocate money towards, right? We put money aside, $200 every single month towards automotive repairs. Do we need automotive repairs every month? No. That's not for gas, but that is for oil changes. It is for headlights,
tires,
brake lights, tires.
Anything.
When something goes wrong on the car, we dip into that fund. But let's say we don't need the money in January. We set it in an account. It's our car repair account. February, we don't need the money. We set that in account. So now we're up to 400. We get to March. Oops, we need new tires. All right. Winter season is here in March. I don't, in like a line out like I'm just saying things here. All right. It sounded good.
It sounded good.
But we get the tires replaced because we actually did just replace our tires on the Rogue in April. So that's $400, $500 right there. But because we put that money aside every single month, we were able to pay for that. And did we like that we had to get our tires replaced? No. It sucks. We hate that. But we had the funds to do it. You have to plan for the unexpected.
And let me tell you, right? Like, again, I want to show you the where you might be if you're in the very beginning, right? You're coming up with this excuse and going, oh man, these irregular expenses are just kicking my butt. You know, this is annoying, right? We're telling you about what happens afterwards, right? So yeah, we have that situation where things happen back to back to back. The car, the fridge, the dryer, all these things happening at the same time. Okay. But let me tell you what the result of that is, right? You show up, you see something that needs to get fixed. You go, oh, that sucks. You take it to where it needs to go. You pay for it. You go, oh man, now I got to restart that account that I had already built up for X, Y, and Z. You get a little annoyed by it, right? A couple hours goes by, life goes on. You got to go to the grocery store. You go to the grocery store. You still go out to eat. You still, like, life still goes on. Yeah, that little reserve is like empty, but everything else is still going. Busy as usual. Doing what it's supposed to do. That one little reserve is the only thing that was affected. And that is the difference between, oh man, that kind of sucks, and dealing with it and just kind of moving on with life, and having it completely derail your whole month because now your whole paycheck is taken away because you have to take care of that situation. And now you have to live on rice and beans and ramen for the next 2 weeks until your next paycheck comes through. That's not the life for you. You don't want that for you. So this is why it's important to do what we're talking about now, so that you can get to the point where you're like, that sucks, but it only lasts an hour or two.
Planning for those irregular and unexpected expenses literally cuts your stress level in half.
Seriously.
You're no longer stressed about, oh man, my dryer broke. That's stressful. And where is this money going to come from? That's no longer a part of the equation.
And then your kid tries to talk to you and they're just,
of your stresses.
Yeah. And think about it. Like, then your kid starts saying something to you and you're frustrated with your kid because they spilled something on the floor, and then your kid don't have to dry it or dry the thing. And then your husband comes home and he's talking to you about something. You're pissed at him now. Like,
babe, you all right, babe? I feel like your day just bled over into the podcast.
I mean, no, please. This was not my day. But all I'm saying is, like, imagine something like that you're thinking about it, especially, oh my gosh, it goes even higher, right? Even if you're the only one who handles the money and your husband or your spouse is not really the one who's handling it and you're the one harboring all of this, like,
and they want to go on a golf trip.
And then they want to go on a golf trip and you're like, we can't go on that stupid golf trip because we got to pay for the dryer, but I can't tell you about the dryer because I don't want you to know about that. Like it can just spill over into so many parts of our life, and we wonder why there's such a division between spouses when it comes to finances. There's an easier way, and it's this: stop neglecting those things and come up with a plan to take care of it.
So don't fall into these common pitfalls.
You said
pitfall. Armpit. Don't fall into the armpits.
Don't fall into the armpit. These
don't
are all
set
excuses.
Unrealistic expectations. Don't fail to track expenses. Don't neglect irregular and unplanned expenses.
Don't neglect them.
These are all excuses. You're literally not budgeting if you don't do these things.
You're not.
I don't think you have a clear understanding of what it means to budget if you're not planning for the unknown, if you're not setting money aside for that, if you're not setting realistic goals, right? Everybody wants to be a millionaire, but you got to set realistic goals for your saving. And if you're not tracking, like I said, that's 90% of budgeting.
You would never know when you actually hit that. Do you know, you would never actually know when you actually hit that if you don't actually track it and know where that money went. Do you know how many people I meet that are so excited to be 6-figure business owners? Do you know it only takes $8,333 to make 6 figures? And that many clients don't even recognize that they've hit that milestone because they're only looking at it from month to month. And then that they don't even actually pay themselves appropriately because they're investing so much in other places, or they have so much debt that they've put into their own business that they don't even recognize that they've already hit a milestone that they wanted from the very get-go, that they're not paying themselves appropriately. So then they're not actually fully reaping the benefit of what they're giving themselves. And they're still over here reaching for the next milestone when they don't even recognize that first milestone has already been met because they're not tracking. They have no idea what's going on in their business. They don't know until taxes. And then they're like,
right.
Wait, I made 6 figures, but where did it go?
Into debt or back into your business, but not into your pocket.
It's a sad, sad thing, y'all. Track your money. Hey guys, this is Kim Graham, co-host of the Affluent Marriage Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed your episode so far. And I know that you're like, wait, hold on, there's more here. And there is. It's in the next episode. We hope that you guys are going to join us over there. And in the meantime, if you're waiting, join us on Instagram at the Affluent Marriage Pod, because we'd love to connect with you, converse with you. We want you guys to message us, see how you're doing and how you're enjoying the podcast. We want to hear all of those things, and we cannot wait to help you live in love and walk in wealth in the next episode. See you guys soon. Bye. Bye.